Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fridays with Steve, coming to you from the road. We are actually pre-taping this episode. I have a hard time not being transparent about stuff like that. I am actually in our Southfield, Michigan office. Uh, I'm broadcasting to you from one of our Microsoft Teams rooms, our signature room, as a matter of fact. I kind of changed some of the technology in here so it's a little bit better for a one-on-one sort of video recording. But it's great to be here with the team. Excited. We've got our holiday party tonight. And so really looking forward to spending time with all of my coworkers. And so coming to you from the road. This week, we're going to talk a little bit in our continuing series about Copilot, and talk about it in sort of that sales arena. One of the things I do here at Apex is I try and look after our sales team, make sure we're delivering the results that we need to deliver. And I look at a lot of these technologies, some of which we're starting to use broadly in Copilot and M365 as enhancing our ability to sell. As well as some additional things that we probably should be looking at incorporating into our world. So I found a couple different history slides I kind of wanted to run through. I think some of this history is really, really fascinating. And then we'll talk about Copilot with that eye towards sellers. I'm also going to show with you some of the innovation between Copilot and Dynamics 365. It probably goes without saying that we use the sales portion of Dynamics here at Apex and have a lot of experience with it. And so we are super excited to bring the innovation of Copilot into our own sales world and make things maybe just a little bit easier, a little bit more productive. I loved this slide. I even added a photo of Alan. The history of AI goes back a long, long time. Really back into the 50s. The term was coined at a summer gathering at Dartmouth in the late 50s, but it really started with Alan Turing's work. Some of you probably know him from initially working on cracking Enigma, the German code breaking or the German code device that was broken by British and American scientists during World War II. And he coined this Turing test, right? Hey, can we make it so that interacting with a computer, with an artificial intelligence is indistinguishable from interacting with a human? And from there, we've progressed. IBM's Deep Blue work in the 90s and 2000s, transitioning into Watson, kind of showed in not the AGI sense, but in the very pointed, the very topical artificial intelligence sense, whether it was playing mahjong or chess or Jeopardy, that humans could be beat by artificially powered intelligence. And then, rapidly in the last couple of years, we've gone through image and chat innovations from our friends at OpenAI. Having some leadership challenges lately and trying to figure out the direction of that organization, but partnering with Microsoft, that's where a lot of this innovation is coming through. And I'm sure a lot of you have started to use these things, whether it's in your personal life, just sort of testing it out, or in the work scenario. I've stumbled on Microsoft Designer lately, and I'm having a lot of fun with the image generation or the brand generation capabilities. We're always looking to up our game around how we market and sell here at Apex, and I think there's a lot of promise there to just not take and do away with the great people we have, but to allow them to focus on one set of tasks and making another set of tasks much, much easier. And so, the role of technology is really transitioning, right? From tools to a creative assistant to very specialized language. Obviously, the example is coding, right? Whether it's Fortran or COBOL or things now like C++ or even JavaScript, it's a very customized and specific language versus the future that probably looks more like natural language, right? The ability to understand what we are saying and do that translation within the system. Databases are always a great example for me. I don't know how to write Transact SQL, but I'm able to describe what I want. Show me all the customers in our database that are based in Michigan, haven't bought from us in the last 12 months, have a history of positive customer satisfaction, and don't currently have an accounting tick assigned, right? And so, that kind of progress has been happening, like on the reporting side, but just in general, the interaction with the tools is going to become more natural. I actually added in the slide late because as I was prepping, I started thinking about this sort of allegory between the cloud era, the beginning of the cloud era, and what we're experiencing right now in Copilot. So this is sort of the gray hair section of today's Fridays with Steve. So in the early days of the beginning of ubiquitous cloud computing, right? Not specific apps, some of which emerged in like maybe the late 90s or early 2000s, specific to an industry or something, but more that generalized cloud approach, databases, infrastructure, applications. One of the things that was interesting, I was at Microsoft at the time, is we had the SQL people and then we had the database and the cloud people. And eventually what happened is we figured out that because even in a hybrid world, on-prem and cloud, uh, uh, the cloud attributes, the cloud features and functions were just as critical as the on-prem, and SQL just became one product. And it had cloud pieces, it had on-prem pieces, and certainly over time, the balance has shifted. Well, right now, it feels like Microsoft's in those early days of cloud mode with Copilot. It's a bolt-on. It's a separate team. It was purchased through acquisition or engaged with through acquisition relatively recently with their partnership with OpenAI. I really anticipate that it will be on the same trajectory, that 5 years from now, Copilot as sort of maybe even as a brand or as a feature won't really exist. It's just Excel will do really cool things, and Teams will do really cool things, and CRM will do really cool things. Whether it's human interaction or AI, it'll all be more blended together. And so it just feels like those early days of cloud, where there was a cloud division at Microsoft. And if you think about that now, it's just core to everything they do. I sort of think that way about Copilot as well. So let's talk a little bit about it. And my strategy here is I'm going to bring up a number of slides that have sort of a summary of some features that are releasing right now, kind of this December through March timeframe, and then I'm going to drill deeper into a couple of them. And so, you can see things like email generated replies, tips and answers right when you're in Teams meetings, meeting summaries, lots of things for just sort of that. And this isn't wholly specific to sales, right? It's preparing for meetings, it's answering emails, it's things we all do that are on the horizon right now. And so let's drill into a couple of them. I love this one. This is the ability for Sales Copilot to take a look at emails and save them as summaries back to CRM versus the ever expanding thread that's in that, that pane in CRM, PANE, not PAIN, although in CRM that just lists out all the, sort of the attached resources, and emails can get really, really long. So bringing in summaries is super useful. And, full transcripts are great, but oftentimes, I look for just those summaries, the action items, the key items that I need to take away from any interaction. I'm really excited for meeting summaries continuing to evolve in things like Teams. I may use that to lighten up my schedule, right? What is the difference between a meeting that I need to be in because I need to provide feedback to someone and help them make a decision or I need to be a decision maker in the meeting versus, hey, I just really need to understand how the conversation went and what the outcome was. Well, if that's my role in a meeting, how about I don't go to it and I find out after the fact? And nobody's taking notes anymore, so maybe that's a place that Copilot can help. Again, recent and relevant information for sellers to use in meeting prep. And what I like about this, it's look at the emails, look at the tasks, look at the notes, look at the calls, look at industry data. Right? Go out and say, hey, what's new with this company? And bring all that together and say, Copilot, help me get ready for an opportunity meeting with customer ABC based off our last 3 projects. Go, right? That's amazing productivity and an amazing outcome for sellers to be able to bring that information together. Whether it's me or our CEO, it's great that we have this system. Yes, at the end of the day, I could go in and for this information myself. Say if I'm meeting an executive from a customer where we're doing a lot of work, I could go to the AE, I could mine CRM. I'm looking forward to the day where I can do something a little bit simpler. So let's get into Dynamic 365 sales specific Copilot. And this time, these features are broken out sort of in the opportunity life cycle, right? Taking things from leads, AI generated lead summaries, and a sales assistant, doing the qualification, contextual news and preparation notes. When you're developing the opportunity, AI recommending you content, use this case study, use this reference, they should watch this video, and doing those kinds of things. Opportunity summaries, again, there's a different level of intimacy that I need versus our sales director that's on my team, and then versus her team, right? Actually hands-on managing the opportunities for both me and Brittany. I think having the ability to say, hey, Copilot, give me the elevator pitch on this opportunity, is going to be something that's super beneficial. Following up on emails using recommended actions. I love a clean inbox, right? I think one of the struggles people face is just getting started with that message. I love just the idea of, hey, here's a draft, and edit it from there versus staring at a blank piece of paper. Design ideas in PowerPoint to me kind of fit the same function. I don't always use them, but I like seeing options or things I hadn't thought about. And so getting those ideas about replies is very cool. And then proposals and account summaries on the back end coming from Copilot. So let's drill into a couple of them. Preparation notes. Being able to prepare for meetings with AI generated prep notes, pulling from multiple sources to really get ready, right? Latest interactions, I mentioned notes and emails, news about the account, similar opportunities, the important documents you're working on. That similar opportunities is really interesting, right? We try to keep our business in some buckets, right? Whether it's business unit, engagement type, the technology we're using, the solution platform, and having Copilot being able to say, wow, this room's deal is going 50% slower than these rooms deals. Hey, what should I do different? Oh, those guys all use the customer XYZ case study in the develop phase. Awesome. I'm going to bring that into the meeting. And so a lot of that stuff is really powerful. And then that chat capability. So one of the things that I know a lot of us are experimenting with is that natural language chat, being able to ask questions. It used to be, or it still is, and maybe it will be for some period in the future. But there are just some people that are better at Google and Bing searches than others, right? You leave off a specific date because that'll, wonkify the results and so forth. But with the evolution of Copilot chat, all of us are just going to be able to use our natural language. Hey, show me all the deals that this customer has closed in the last 12 months versus their losses, and analyze the number of ways that those were different, present it in a pie chart of frequency, and also reference it to the overall average of all customers. Okay, that's a pretty big one. But when it comes to searching and crafting your ask for information, having chat be ubiquitous across all of this is going to be great. And then the opportunity summaries. I was talking about this, whether it's me or my boss, we get a little bit lazy sometimes. Hey, just tell me about it, right? We've got a CRM system. We have an opportunity meeting on Tuesday because sometimes I just want the sellers to walk me through, where things are at. Oftentimes, it's a lot of information I could go get myself, but having them, present it in a way that's very consumable for me is still useful. Probably not getting rid of the opportunity meeting anytime soon. But having this where I can look for these summaries and be able to see a lot of maybe the context or color they would add based on the data that's in CRM is going to be super, super useful. Probably I should warn my boss that, rather than pulling sellers aside, let's use Copilot, right? Hey, you're meeting with a big time exec at the customer. Let's get you the opportunity summaries, but rather than a pre-meeting meeting, let's have Copilot do it for us. And then account summaries as well. One of the things that we're trying to enhance our capability around is cross-sell and upsell, right? We do a number of great things for customers. There's a few customers where we do all of those great things. I'd love to have more customers where I support more parts of their business. And so being able to talk at a customer level with Copilot and fully understand missing opportunities, missed connections, missed abilities for us to get in there and help, or maybe see that there are open tickets, or there are customer satisfaction challenges, right? Oftentimes, our work in sales and marketing is tied to how good of a job Courtney's doing in her service delivery. Thankfully, it's almost 100% on point, but bringing all that information together into these account summaries is going to be super powerful. So just briefly, sales execution and Salesforce automation, assignment rules for leads. That's always a controversial topic in the sales department. Who gets what? The phone rings, is it round robin? Is it first to pick up? So this is just being smarter, looking at leads, looking at inbound pieces and saying, hey, who's good for this based off of the criteria you set, right? And being able to assign leads out, not just quicker, but also in a smarter way. Business rules, pipeline monitoring, all kinds of things that are going to really play in the sales execution and Salesforce automation space. So these assignment rules, right, up to and including notifying sales managers after these things are assigned out, or if something falls out of the process. So again, setting up rules, oftentimes rules are eventually defined by those things that break the rules, right? And so having capability, continue to augment and iterate your lead assignment process, but then knowing when things fall out, right? And being able to say, hey, this was successfully assigned, this wasn't successfully assigned. We're going to need to handle it as an exception. Better to handle things as an exception versus a rule. So a little bit about sales engagement, thinking about, that continuum of activity from creating sequences to assigning leads to focusing and engaging, enhancements, repeated follow-ups, right? How do I make that same email, that same outreach I do, easier to do, more repeatable? I sort of navigated my career by usually being pretty good at figuring out where that boundary line is between manual work and automation, right? It's going to take me an hour to write a PowerShell script that I'll never use again, but it's going to take me 6 minutes to brute force data entry. well, I'm going to go with that, right? So giving you tools to think about those things in a real way, right? Hey, these follow-ups, they're oftentimes the same. Let's leverage Copilot to do a lot of those. Work simultaneously. One of the challenges, you see a lot of process diagrams here and a lot of serial behavior, SERIL, not Kellogg's. I am in Michigan. And so you want some of these things going on in parallel. So Copilot can help with parallel activities, faster navigation, and sort of that next logical activity to take. And so here's kind of a drill down into those repeated follow-ups with customers, things that, you're continuing to do all the time, create a series of repeated steps, specify the criteria. If they match the criteria, go ahead and do these things. I used to call DLP and things like that, like Outlook rules for security. This is like Outlook rules for selling. But again, the language has become easy enough that most, hopefully all, but certainly most sellers are going to have the capability to describe, hey, if the first email gets read within a day, but it's been a week and I haven't heard back, add them to my call queue, provide a summary of what we should talk about, and schedule it for my call time tomorrow morning, right? Being able to natural language and craft these sequences is going to be super, super powerful. So as a seller, as a leader, I'm really excited about a bunch of this stuff. When it comes to Sales Copilot, sort of the rename of Viva Sales, there's going to be interactions with the other platforms. Obviously, it was easier or easiest for me to use Microsoft CRM as a backdrop, but I think you can kind of think about how this is going to play in the sales world all up, right? This natural language ability, the ability to automate, the ability to think about that next logical step based off of data, versus just continuing to hire great salespeople. So this is the stuff we love helping customers with. I love those great business outcomes. It's really about that, where you're going with these things. I've had a long history of talking to customers, even being able to say something like a better or faster remote access piece in Windows 2000 is going to lead a national grocer to more sales. Connecting those dots is something we do here at Apex, right? It's not about the technology, it's about your business outcomes. Hundreds of customers, hundreds of successful projects. One of Crane's best places to work. We're always growing and looking for talent, and it's an exciting time, I think, to be in our industry. So if you work with us already, reach out to your account executive. They're still real people, and they'd love to talk to you about this or any of the needs you have for bringing solutions into your business that drive outcomes. Reach out to sales if you're not a customer, sales at apexdigital.com, or hey, just drop me a note. Reach out to sthompson@apexdigital.com. Like I said, I like a clean inbox. So one of the things that means is everybody gets quick replies when they reach out. So that's it. Thanks for joining me on Fridays with Steve on a Thursday, but you're really on a Friday. And if you're watching recorded, thanks to you as well. It's been a great month around Copilot. It's been fun talking about all these topics, and we'll talk to you again next Friday.